Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another Hot Toys 1/6 scale Deadpool figure unboxing and review. Today, we're taking a look at the Merc with a Mouth, based off his appearance in Deadpool and Wolverine. Now, I got mine at a discount from Pop Collectibles. As always, do your own research, make sure you're comfortable before buying. I've popped a link to their site in the description below, along with the discount code Justin's Collection, for 5% off your order if you do decide to buy from them. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button, so you're notified as soon as a brand new Hot Toys Deadpool and Wolverine figure review goes live on the channel. Very quickly, I just want to touch on the unique, I guess you could call it, release strategy for this Deadpool. Normally, when a new film comes out, be it Star Wars, Marvel, or DC, if Hot Toys decide to make figures based on that movie, then chances are they're going to release like a year or two after the film itself. For Deadpool and Wolverine, though, they decided to try something a little bit different, and I am so here for it. They dropped 800 of these special edition Deadpool figures at the various cons, whether it's ACGHK or Sideshow Con, because Sideshow is sending out early arrival emails as well. If you aren't in a rush to get him, because you aren't buying into the Deadpool and Wolverine hype, you can just wait for the later batch. If you're impatient like me, well, you can grab him now. You can have the new Deadpool based off the new movie at the same time as the film is in cinemas, and that just doesn't happen very often. As for the box art, up front we've got a high gloss image of Deadpool in his new MCU costume with the gold bits and pieces. Then we have these almost 3D claw marks in the background behind him. I would have liked some additional artwork in the claw marks themselves, but high gloss black also works. On the side of the box, the claw marks do spill over the edge from the front cover. We've got some glossy bullet casings, some bullet holes, scratching and burning embers everywhere, his name, as well as an image of Deadpool doing a dynamic pose, I guess you could call it, spilling over the edge from the back of the box. And there you can see it in all its glory down below. It reminds me of when in Deadpool 2 he was on the chair and the bullet casings were raining down on him. I think that's what they were going for with the various little bullet shells. We've got warnings and legal info straight through the middle, another image of Deadpool, this time upside down, as well as his logo smack bang in the middle. Having literally just seen the movie, and by all means, I'm going a couple more times, the hype is very real for me. I cannot wait to get this guy out here. Underneath the slipcover, we've got an open window showcasing Deadpool and all of his accessories inside, plus the Deadpool and Wolverine best friend charm at the bottom. They've been doing this a lot recently. If a character has an iconic two-tone color scheme, they've been using one of the main colors for the outer box, then the other on the inside underneath the slipcover. So for Deadpool, we had red on the outside and black on the inside. We've got his name on the side of the box, as well as a bunch of little doodles that Deadpool, I suppose, has drawn himself. This is a sick piece of artwork. I love everything about this inner box. We've got the doodles in the background. They look like they've been drawn with chalk, perhaps. An image of Deadpool, as well as a massive Deadpool logo with Wolverine's claws running straight through the middle of it. I think we've faffed around enough with the box, so yeah, let's fucking go. The number one question I hope to answer by the end of this video is this the ultimate Hot Toys Deadpool? First in-hand impressions for him, really good. I'm loving the vibrant red suit and, of course, that airbrush shading. What we're going to do now is get all of Wade's accessories laid out in the light box and take a closer look at everything he comes with. This is a really solid offering for Deadpool. He comes with a shitload of stuff, and some of his accessories come with their own accessories, so you may potentially be able to argue that this is a multi-pack. We'll discuss that again in the pros and cons segment. Starting off with the display base first. So this is the special edition upgraded base. Although it doesn't feel very upgraded. This is a cheap hollow plastic piece of crap. It comes across as though this is the lid of a popcorn bucket, but not the really cool popcorn bucket that everyone wants. This is the popcorn bucket lid that only exists so that people skip right over it and get the sick one. Visually speaking, it is well painted. There's this speckling over the top of the logo, and we've got the massive Deadpool logo with the claw marks through it. But the paint does miss in a couple of places, and that is just not good enough for a figure of this price point. If you are including a special edition base Hot Toys, you also need to include the standard base as well. This is so lightweight, I don't know how the flight pole is going to hold him up. It's probably just there to have him standing straight up and down with the waist clamp securing him in place. Also, it's very rocky and hilly. There's not really a flat surface for him to stand on. Do be careful with this waist clamp. The spring is far too aggressive, and the foam padding doesn't go all the way to the front, so these do tend to dig into rubbery superhero suits over time. There is an additional wire. This is meant to be used with head pull. Speaking of head pull, dude looks sensational. There's washes in all the crevices. His eyes are big and wide open and very glossy. There's even some red capillary slash vein work on them. He's missing some teeth. The jaw can open, and there's some spinal column detail on the inside. The propeller up top does spin, but not super freely. That's because it's not really meant to. The only reason it spins at all is because this piece is removable. Then you can bring in this effect part, plug that in place, and now it looks like his propellers are rotating around. I'm always going to have him hovering above Deadpool's shoulder, so this effect piece is going to come in handy. Next up, Mary Poppins, aka Dogpool. Everything is fully sculpted, but she does have some articulation. The front legs are on ball joints, you can move them around, and the head sculpt is as well. I would have liked some rooted hair up top for the white wispy bits of hair that the real Dogpool has. Still, it's not a deal breaker. This piece is a nice to have. There is a lot of sculpted detail on the underside of Dogpool, and she's got this very glossy, wet looking tongue. Lady Deadpool is also coming with a Dogpool, but her one doesn't have the goggles on. So these two pieces go hand in hand. It's Baby Pool and Baby Pool's carrier. These buckles are real functional buckles. You can just undo them. That's how you install this on Deadpool. The top one is a little bit easier to undo as compared to the bottom. We'll try this out on Deadpool a little bit later. Maybe not really an accessory, more of a figure because Baby Pool has articulation and accessories. Still, by far the best accessory of the bunch. The head sculpt can swivel left and right, the arms go forward and back, the hands don't rotate unfortunately, the legs are on ball joints, they go forward and out so Baby Pool can get in a sitting pose, and the feet are on swivels. There's sculpted texture all over the outfit and some wrinkles, especially down here for the baby booties, but my favourite detail is that you can remove the bottles from the holsters. There are some ball joints on them and some peg ports on the hands. Then you can connect them up to the hands and make it look like Baby Pool is dual-wielding bottles. The pacifier ring, by the way, is rubbery plastic, so no worries when it comes to breakage. Baby Pool comes included with some switch-out eyes, so let's give them a go. They're just wider open ones. If you want to have Baby Pool winking by mixing and matching, you can do that, although I'm not sure if babies can actually wink. I've not experienced that with my own baby. I thought I'd try it. I have popped the baby carrier back, by the way. This paunchy little wide-legged Baby Pool is so freaking cool. And yes, babies do kind of have this stance because there would be a nappy going through Baby Pool's legs. Or a diaper, I think you'll call it. Deadpool does come with his baby knife, seeing as though we're on the whole baby thing. There's texture for the grip with a grey dry brush over the top. This is made of plastic, but it's painted in shiny metallic silver, so it does look like it could potentially be made of metal. Definitely one of the most disappointing things for me about this new Deadpool. His katanas are not made of die cast, these are all plastic. They're super lightweight, and they don't feel as premium or cold to the touch as compared to the ones that came with the other Deadpool figures, all three of them. They have this yellow shading on the back of the katanas, then they're more of a bluish gunmetal on the front. In the movie, these were supposedly adamantium katanas, so making them out of die cast would have been a really nice touch. Got some gold down below for the handle, and the inscriptions on the back of the swords, they are different from one to the other. If you know what the inscriptions mean, can you just let me know down in the comments below, because I've got no idea. Depending on which version of Deadpool you end up getting, you're either going to receive both sets of pistols, the gold pistoleros and the standard ones, or just the normal black deagles with some silver dry brushing over the top. You can move the slide back and it holds in place, it's not spring-loaded, that's perfect for me because it'll work in a reloading pose, or you can make it look like it's being fired. The magazine is removable, although it's quite tricky to get out. There is some painted bullet detail up on top, but by far my favorite detail has to be the smile wait for the flash around the front of the barrel. On the underside, we've got a Deadpool logo. Okay, so the gold pistoleros, are they worth the price of admission for the special edition? I didn't mean for that to rhyme, I promise. I mean, we've got the vent work, and the slide can still actuate back, the removable magazines with the bullet detail up on top, the Deadpool logo at the bottom, but on the front of the barrels it says, "So sorry, that's perfect for nice pull." I like them, but I don't think they're must-haves. He only uses these for about 5 seconds right at the end of the movie. We are going to try out all of these on the actual figure. In typical Deadpool fashion, he comes with multiple interchangeable eye options, ranging from fully wide open, shocked even, slightly more squinted, happy Deadpool, and sad Deadpool. And lastly, a full array of hands, ranging from my favourite of the bunch being the love heart gesture hands, we'll try these on him a little bit later, a thumbs up gesture hand for the right side, and an okay hand for the left, two different splayed out finger hands, or this could maybe be a saluting hand, two pointing finger hands, this one with 2 fingers, the other with 1, this could even be a finger gun hand perhaps, 2 trigger finger hands, and there's a really nice super fine level of texture on the surface of these. They do look like they could potentially be made out of fabric, especially from a distance. Up close, maybe not so much. The metallic hand armor is quite reflective, and there's some speckling of black dirt and grime over the top. And lastly, right out of the box, 2 semi-relaxed open palm hands that also double as sword/katana holding hands. Curiously enough, we don't get any closed fists this time round. What we're going to do now is get Deadpool himself out here. Standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses or accessories or anything like that. Except for his katanas in their sheaths, his pistols in their holsters, and his baby knife in its sheath. I had to install all that stuff just to complete the look. I wanted to draw this out a bit more and maybe answer the question I posed in the unboxing segment towards the end of the video. Nah, I don't think I can wait that long. I'm here to tell you that this, in my opinion, is their best attempt at Deadpool to date. Their most up-to-date body technology, great articulation, and awesome proportions. You cannot tell me that that doesn't look like a real dude in a suit rotating around in front of us. Quite durable fabrics, floating cuffs for the gloves, split-cut boots, and a split-cut head sculpt. Not to mention he comes with tons of accessories. I'm blown away, not just by how good this thing is, but by how quickly they released him. Right after the movie dropped, this figure was ready to go. I want them to keep doing this, dropping stellar figures that are well thought out and killer releases in their own right, around the same time as the movie drops. It's a brilliant strategy for them because they can ride the hype wave and drop the rest of the batch whenever it's ready. Long story short, back to the figure himself. This Deadpool fucks hard, just like the Honda Odyssey. I am so sorry I had to. You know what time it is now? Yeah, suit up montage. Up close and personal, yes, the costume design is pretty consistent with what we saw in the first two Deadpool movies, but there are some notable changes, and we will go through them in just a minute. There's a shared design philosophy between the three suits. They wanted to keep Deadpool looking like a Deadpool, even though now he's sort of in the MCU. Let's start off with his head sculpt first. So, just like the previous three Deadpool figures by Hot Toys, the head and neck are sculpted pieces of plastic. But the color match between the plastic and the fabric parts, perfect. No complaints from me. It looks like it's made of the same stuff, even though, of course, it isn't. There's some sculpted wrinkling on the surface, plenty of texture, some airbrush shading, some panel lines, and the little dongle around the back at the top of the mask. However, they've done something a little bit different this time. Instead of going with a single piece head sculpt and neck combo unit, they've added a split cut underneath the jaw, so that means this new Deadpool can get way more expressive when it comes to posing. Something like this just isn't possible with the other three Deadpool figures. I am curious to see what he looks like with some swap out eye options on, so let's try a few out. I reckon these eyes work for more serious poses because they are squinted. I really like the definition just up the top for the brow area and underneath. It's not too in your face, but when light bounces off the surface, that detail does pop. There's a touch of grey speckling over the top of the black that gives the eyes some more texture and grit. These eyes are the saddest of the bunch, the way they curl up at the ends. They work for a Dogpool pose because, as we all know, this Deadpool ain't Dogpool's papa, that's Nice Pool, so eventually Dogpool's gonna have to go back to him. You see, this is where that split cut at the neck really comes in handy because you can get that exaggerated head tilt, and combined with the very expressive eyes and the love heart pose hands, yeah, I am tempted to display him like this every now and then. The wide open eyes are great for making Deadpool look like he's shocked. Make sure you stick around till the end of the video, by the way, because I've got a good feeling about the posing segment. I cannot wait to get stuck into that. Hot Toys not giving us this head sculpt was a massive missed opportunity. You haven't given it to us with any of the previous Deadpool figures. If you happen to have one like this, just a third-party sculpt lying around, and you're worried it's not going to work on the body thanks to the new split-cut neck piece, don't be. This is not part of the body, it's absolutely removable. Then when you take it out, you can install a single-piece head sculpt into the collar and connect it to the body. Maybe I'll rock him like this, but for the most part, I'm going with the masked sculpt because that new split cut, like I've already said, allows you to get very creative with posing. I had to try it. This is the new split cut head sculpt on the Deadpool 2 body. It's perfectly compatible, it pops on there, absolutely no issues whatsoever. The only problem is you are going to have to do some painting to get the color match to where it needs to be for this to look convincing. Right now, the mask and the neck, they're far too bright as compared to the rest of the suit. Enough faffing around, back to stock, the Deadpool 3 body and the Deadpool 3 head sculpt. If you're wondering how to remove the eyes, it's super straightforward. There's a little divot up the top underneath them that you can push them into, then they slide right out, they're held on with magnets, and after that, you can magnetize the new ones in place. Mixing and matching just allows you to create different expressions for Deadpool, and I'm not going to show you by any means every single one of them. Experiment with it, have fun, and let me know down in the comments below which combo is your personal favorite. They decided to stick with the magnets for the katana sheaths, and I'm okay with that. I like magnets. When they're strong enough to hold things in place. You see, these aren't, so when you just so much as touch this during posing, it's going to either sit off axis or it's going to fall off entirely. You can switch the sheets for the Deadpool 2 versions if you want to, but I much prefer the newer design with the exaggerated X and then the angled ends plus the gold in the middle. When you do install the Deadpool 2 sheets, the magnet is for some reason a lot higher up on these, so they subsequently sit a lot higher up on his back. I'm not going to do this, I'm just going to stick with the sheets he comes with. Let's discuss the suit material, by far the biggest upgrade on this entire piece. Oh, and I have put the eyes back to stock, by the way. For the red sections, instead of going with that rubbery style screen printed material, it's still screen printed, but this time it's more of a stretchy spandex, and they've kept the screen printing relatively minimal. This feels a lot like the PS4 video game Scarlet Spider material. I've already done a few poses with him, and it's bounced right back, so right off the bat, this feels a hell of a lot more durable than the previous figures. And the black sections are no longer made of pleather. This is like that Spider-Man suit material that isn't going to just degrade with him standing there on your shelf doing nothing. You still have to be somewhat mindful of creasing when you pose him, but as long as you are careful, I reckon this is going to stand the test of time. Unlike my Deadpool 1 figure, who has just been in the collection straight up and down in a museum pose, and his black sections are cracking and peeling, and they look terrible. I love this. It's the little details. The shoulder pads are now attached with Velcro, so if you want to detach them, bring the arms way up with the shoulder pads over the top of the traps or this harness piece. Absolutely doable. It's not designed for that, it's just there if you want it. These straps on the biceps are now fixed in place, so gone are the days of having to constantly adjust them, but they have separated the gloves from the cuffs. So you can get a lot more articulation out of the wrists, then you can bring the cuffs back down to cover up the wrist pegs. I'm pretty sure in the movie, and this is how my figure brain works when I'm sitting there watching it, I'm looking at little details like this. The new black panel that starts underneath the collar, then goes straight through the pec pieces of armor with the buckles over the top, was just screen printed fabric because towards the later half of the movie, the dots were wearing away on the surface as Deadpool's suit got more and more battle damaged. I wouldn't be surprised if eventually we get a battle damaged version of Deadpool from this movie by Hot Toys. Another very obvious change, besides this front piece, for the Deadpool 3 suit versus the other two movie designs, is that they went with gold for the accent color. In Deadpool 2, on the back of the gloves, we had the silver lines. In Deadpool 1, they were black. But now with Deadpool 3, everything is gold. There is so much more bling on this outfit. And that is fitting. He's now MCU Jesus, after all. The front part of his suit is a separate floating vest with the sleeves connecting to a very thin spandex shirt underneath it. That is just done for articulation purposes. Aesthetically, doesn't do much for him besides adding a little bit of a step up for the traps. I don't think that was the intended effect, it's just a nice byproduct of the design they ended up going with. His belt is free floating, potentially a little bit too free floating because this moves around constantly. Dial in the pose first, then adjust the belt later. These pouches are not made of pleather this time, this is all sculpted plastic, and that just goes to show that Hot Toys can sculpt PVC to make it look like it's leather. The grain and the stitching, then the subtle, just dry brushing over the top, makes it look like these are leather pouches. You can see that, right? The dry brushing, it might be black dry brushing, or it could be a wash. I'm not entirely sure which technique they used to get the grain to pop as much as it does, but whatever the hell they did, it worked. The belt looks very convincing, especially from a distance. These pouches on the straps for his legs, also made of sculpted PVC. You can take the pistoleros out of his holsters if you so choose. Then you can install the gold-plated versions from Nicepool. I'm pretty conflicted which way I'm going to go because the suit already has a lot of gold on it. Weigh in down in the comments, do you like the gold-plated pistoleros, or should I stick with the regular old, just plain black Deadpool 2 Deagles? Coming down to the legs, Ryan did not skip leg day. This figure feels a lot beefier than the previous ones. There's this padded, squishy fat suit layer underneath the fabric for the outfit. But don't freak out, they've cut away the fat suit for the high traffic joints. You'll see what I mean when we get to the articulation segment. It's not going to get in your way. There is a lot of asymmetry going on with his outfit, and that's in keeping with the other Deadpool costumes. We've got the harness on one side up top, then down below only one strap for this thigh holster, but two and the pouches on the other side. His knee pads are separate PVC sculpted pieces, but they're not attached with Velcro, so please do not try and remove them. His boot guards are separate floating pieces for a split cut boot design, and we've got the baby knife in its sheath on the right hand side. You can remove it, it sits in there pretty securely. For the bottom boot pieces, we do have some weathering over the top and some wrinkling sculpted in, plus a zipper on the inside, but no leather grain texture or anything like that. Then on the underside, some fully sculpted tread. This I've been dreading. We are going to try his baby carrier out, and fingers crossed it's easy. It's just going to pop on there no problem. I reckon I'm going to be fighting this for a while off camera. Aw, this is so freaking cute. It didn't happen in the movie, and this is a throwaway accessory for a lot of people. Not for me. You see, I've got my own baby pool, IRL, and I've worn a carrier like this. So seeing Deadpool with baby pool inside of it is really freaking adorable. I may give this a go every now and then. It was easy enough to install too. You just have to remove the sheets, unclip the real clips, slide the arm parts over his arms, connect the clips back up, pop the sheets back on, and this sword does get caught on the strap, so be mindful of that. Then you can install baby pool inside, and this is what you're left with. The harness looks convincing enough. There's texture, and they've simulated gravity with the straps by having them dangle down. There is that signature PVC subtle sheen to it that does give away this piece is made of plastic. For a quick side-by-side comparison, what a difference a good few years can make, especially for Hot Toys, because they're always tweaking and learning from their mistakes and evolving. On the left, we've got their latest version of Deadpool from Deadpool and Wolverine, and on the right, their first attempt from the original Deadpool movie. I still really like the original, warts and all, and he always is going to have a place in my collection. But he doesn't look anywhere near as real as the new one does. His neck is too long, he's got no traps, his waist is too skinny, and his shoulder pads are massive. I happen to prefer the brighter look and the airbrush shading for the outfit on the left as well. So overall, I give the win to the new version. Ooh, these two are a lot closer when it comes to proportions. Hot Toys did some significant work on the body for Deadpool 2. He's not perfect, I still prefer the look of the new one. There's something just so inherently realistic about how big and beefy he is. If you have Deadpool 2 and you're happy with him, you don't really care for the brighter suit or the wider set eyes or any of the new accessories, you might just be happy with the Deadpool 2 release. It's going to have to do for now. This is the battlesuit version of Wolverine from Days of Future Past. He is shorter than Deadpool, and that just isn't accurate. IRL, Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds are both 6'2". I don't blame Deadpool for this. It's more so Logan's fault because he's a much older figure and therefore he's using an older body. If they were to remake him nowadays, like give us a 2.0, I reckon he would be more in scale with Deadpool. I know, he wasn't in Deadpool 3. There was that line about Cable not testing well with focus groups, and that was funny. I still would have liked to have seen him in the movie. He is shorter than Deadpool, and while it's not canonically accurate to have them standing next to one another, I'm still tempted to do that in the display. I reckon they complement each other quite nicely. Ooh, not bad. This is Negasonic Teenage Warhead from Deadpool 2 by So Toys. She is quite a lot shorter than Wade. That height difference looks about right to me. And seeing as though we never got this character from Hot Toys, and I highly doubt we're going to get any of the other tertiary Deadpool characters like Colossus or Domino, I wouldn't be surprised if more than a few people decide to display these two together. Okay, now this looks good, and the best part is Colossus was in Deadpool and Wolverine. He looked a touch different because they gave him some gauntlets, but the outfit was largely pretty similar, so if you have Toys Era Colossus and you're wondering what these two look like standing together, the answer is really frickin' good. Going over articulation, starting off with his head sculpt. With this being the first Hot Toys Deadpool to receive the split-cut mask and neck design, I'm curious to see what that does for range of motion. Looking forward to there, looking up to there, heaps of range for a jumping through a Marvel Sparkle Circle pose, swivel, and tons of pivot side to side. His arms go up to there before the rubbery shoulder pads collide with the vest overlay piece for the outfit. Going forward and back on soft ratchets, there's a butterfly joint at the shoulder that hinges up and down. Swivel at the bicep, double bend at the elbow, easily going the full way. Then for the wrist peg, it's a hinge and swivel. His torso is padded, yet it crunches forward to there, going back to there, swivel, and pivot side to side. His legs go forward to there as the excess fabric tucks into the hip joint. They've left a gap to accommodate it. Going out to there, swivel at the upper thigh, ratcheted double bend at the knee going past 90, and a split cut boot design with a double ball peg for the ankles. Good for forward and back rotation, as well as ankle tilt. Just don't forget to bring the boot guard back down to cover up the gappiness. Moving on to the 3 cool and 3 annoying things. The first annoying thing is unfortunately the special edition display base. I would like to be able to say that this thing is great, but it isn't. It just feels like a cheap piece of crap. It's hollow plastic, the waffling is exposed on the underside, they didn't even finish it with a bottom piece of plastic, and it's all lumpy and bumpy, so getting Deadpool to stand on this is going to be a right pain in the ass. I would have preferred a standard display base as well as this. They could have even had this as a base topper that you pop on top of a regular hexagonal base. If you're doing diorama elements like this, Hot Toys, you need to include both bases every single time. The second annoying thing is, this is their 4th attempt at Deadpool, and we still don't have an officially licensed, unmasked Wade head sculpt. This is one I got from a random store in Hong Kong, and yes, you can get third-party ones like this, but we really shouldn't have to. At this point, I just don't understand why they haven't given us one yet. The third annoying thing is this may be their 4th attempt, as you well know, but it's the first to come with plastic katanas, and the question is, why? Why did this happen? If the other 3 Deadpool figures come with real metal ones, and this Deadpool is supposed to have adamantium katanas, surely they should have been made out of die-cast. The first cool thing is the mini Deadpool gang that comes included with Wade. Technically, you could say this is a 4-pack, maybe, because they do come with their own accessories. Headpool has a swap-out propeller, and Babypool has some interchangeable eyepieces and the bottles. They're not just static pieces either, they do have a little bit of articulation. The second cool thing, and a lot of you all are going to love this, it has to be the material choice for the outfits, specifically the red sections. It feels like it could potentially be just red spandex with some screen printing and then detail work over the top. I'm not saying it's bulletproof, you're still going to have to be a little bit careful when it comes to posing and pinch points in the joints, for example. Still, I reckon it's a lot more durable compared to the other Hot Toys Deadpool figures. The third cool thing is all of the little tweaks and changes they've made to how this figure works to get him to be as posable as possible. Number 1, the head sculpt being a split cut design allows for some sick dance move poses. Number 2, the undershirt is a separate piece to the vest, so the arms move more freely. Number 3, These aren't free floating anymore, they're locked in place. Thank goodness, because they would always fall down on my Deadpool 2 figure. And number 4, the glove cuffs are separate pieces. So you can move the hand, then bring the cuffs down to cover up the wrist pegs. Wrapping up on the special edition version of Hot Toys Deadpool from Deadpool and Wolverine. This limited to 800 pieces special edition thing has single-handedly hyped me up to a level that I've not experienced in a while. You could even call him Hot Toys Jesus. In all seriousness, he's just a really solid, well put together figure on his own, irregardless of the different but also kind of interesting release strategy. The best part about the way they did this is you don't have to get him right now if you don't want to. If you need a little bit more time to save that cash in order to pick him up, just wait it out. There's going to be way more of these guys when he eventually gets a wide release instead of these very early 800 units released for the conventions. But for those like me who adored the movie and need that instant gratification, you can grab him right now, which is something that doesn't happen very often. I've wanted Hot Toys to do this for the longest time because dropping a figure when the movie hits is a great way of making sure that you catch that hype wave and sell as many of these things as possible. These 800 units being the taster, they'll keep the hype rolling until the rest of the batch is eventually released. This was a perfect movie to try this release strategy out with, and I'm hoping it works out well for them. So, the figure himself, how is he? He's perfect. Well, except for the missing unmasked head sculpt and the teeny tiny little daggers. Everything else makes him the best there is at what he does. Sturdier suit, but not invincible, still be careful, but more durable, killer paint apps, stunning accessories, and you get some extra characters in the box with baby pool, dog pool, and head pool. Completely unnecessary, but I'm so glad they're here. The one thing that stands out for me above everything else as the killer app, the main reason to upgrade if you have the previous Deadpool figures, the proportions. He looks so real. Just looking through the viewfinder at him rotating around in front of us, that looks like the real Deadpool to me. The proportions are that realistic. They have struggled with their previous Deadpool figures, but not with this one. This is the best to date. I know I've already said that a couple of times. That is the last time, I promise. Now, I got mine at a discount from Pop Collectibles. As always, do your own research, make sure you're comfortable before buying. I have popped a link to their site in the description below, along with the discount code Justin's Collection, for 5% off your order if you do decide to buy from them. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button if you like the sound of seeing your name in the end credits of my reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll catch you in the next video.